Hello, welcome back to Supernatural on the Rocks. I am Emily,
And I'm Mandy.
and this is the Winchesters Weekly, Season 1, Episode 9 of the Winchesters. This episode is all about fate and destiny. This is a supernatural episode.
It is. Yeah. Very, like, they're getting better at that, I think. And, like, I don't
Yes.
know if that's entirely, like, their intention. Like, and if the option is the show we had the first, like, few episodes of versus a supernatural clone,
Mm-hmm.
these are more interesting.
Yes. Yeah, I was watching this episode just thinking, and Jensen slash Dean's voiceover was
Yeah.
100% something that came straight out of Supernatural. And I was like, hold on, what did I accidentally fall into
Yeah.
season 5 of Supernatural? Um, the episode rundown is when vampires make their way into Lawrence, Carlos corrals the gang to find out why. John gets a scary glimpse into the future, and Mary struggles with a tedious balance between feelings and action when it comes to John. Which is kind of an odd way to phrase what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, this was a supernatural episode of the Winchesters. Dean has kind of these continuous voiceovers where he is explaining what's going on. His VO this time was, "This isn't how I saw things going when I pushed over that first domino. Thing is, I've had more than a few dances with free will and fate, but as my dad used to say, fate is what you make it." So
Yeah.
they just put right on the table that this is fate versus destiny, which is the entire plot of Supernatural.
Yep.
Cool. I mean, if that's what we're doing, then fine.
It it made me think about the cameo from last week too, and I'm like, how much are they tying this in?
Hmm. More and more, it does feel like that Jensen filmed his last episode of Supernatural and was like, no, I'm not done. I need another show.
Like, in terms of Supernatural being a 15 season show, this entire first 9 episodes of Winchesters could just be like a cold open to a new Dean story.
Yes, he is just writing his ass right back into the world.
Yeah.
And now this voiceover is like, this isn't how I saw things going when I pushed over that first domino. So this man is just straight up saying, I put my parents together.
Yeah, I mean, and he took, like, I feel like that scene takes the narrative away from John and Mary and is like, no, this is still Dean Winchester's story.
This is still the Dean story, not even the Sam and Dean story.
No, it's just the Dean story.
Yeah. Dean was like,
There's
fuck
no
Sam.
we. Yeah,
I'm
he's
doing
not
this.
weeing it here.
No.
It's him.
Yeah, and it's, I've had a few dances with free will and fate, but as my dad, yeah, fate is what you make it. Like, when did John Winchester ever say that?
No.
I mean, maybe 25-year-old John Winchester will say that.
Yeah.
But again, what kind of fate are we even talking about if his own son comes back in time and says, like, no, you got to fuck my mom to get this whole thing rolling?
Yeah.
That's not fate. That's
Uh,
someone meddling yet again.
yeah. That's some I'm my own grandpa shit too. Like,
It's
how makes your brain hurt.
It does make the brain hurt as to what kind of Tuesday time loop is
Yeah.
Jensen stuck in. That it's like, no, we gotta. Is he trying to just reboot Dean so that he doesn't die
I
attached
mean,
to a
again,
piece
I,
of
I
rebar?
feel I feel like that could be it. And that makes me even more want Winchesters to get a second season.
Yeah,
Because, like, I am more invested in the Dean show than the John and Mary show. The Carlos show I would watch though.
I would 100% watch the Carlos show.
Carlos and Lara,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Hmm.
But John and Mary, no, I need Dean tying it in for me to keep invested in them.
Yes. And it still begs the question as to when did he decide to go back in time to do this
Yeah.
and
Especially
why?
considering there have already been time jumps back in Supernatural canon.
Yes, Dean
Like,
already went back to meet his younger parents.
yeah,
So now he's doing it again? And is
it
he
is.
dead when he does this? Is it Heaven Dean? When? Why?
I hope we find that out in season one. I mean, we have limited number of episodes left, and
Yes,
I
there
don't
are.
expect them to solve all the mysteries,
Mm-mm.
but
No, me neither.
I hope they end not on a very like supernatural. I was gonna say supernatural style. That's cheesy. Style cliffhanger, but like actually answering some questions just in case there's not a season two.
Yeah. Or they have to film a coda to be like,
Yeah,
and this is what we meant to do.
that really will like this gets canceled. It's gonna be Jensen's backyard
That's right, the backyard puppet show.
on his like YouTube channel. Like he's gonna be like, "Hey kids, help Dad set up a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
We got to finish this story."
he has to for his
Yeah.
own sanity. He's gonna build a bunker in his own backyard to be like to living out his dreams or
Yes.
nightmares potentially at this point.
And Jared will still manage to like, you know,
Not
use
be
a
involved.
tin can phone to be like, "You didn't invite me over."
Didn't invite me to your backyard barbecue. Sorry,
I
buddy.
I got a puppet too.
If this were 15 years ago, it would be Potter Puppet Pals, but with
Uh,
Supernatural.
yeah. Yeah, it would be.
If you guys are too young, go look up Potter Puppet Pals and relive the glory
Appreciate
days.
yes, appreciate your fandom history.
Yeah, the height of humor, of fandom humor, was Potter Puppet Pals.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I mean, I liked this episode,
I enjoyed it,
honestly.
yeah.
You know, you get a nice cold open with a armored vehicle smashing into a station wagon of vampires who are conducting a heist to get a Men of Letters box. Who were dressed like Blade knockoffs? I
They
thought
definitely were. Yeah.
it's like, was Blade even out? Was that a because it started as a comic, right? The Blade comics, but I don't know if they
Yeah.
were out yet.
Let's
To
see. Blade comics. Okay. They started in the 1972.
well, I mean, they may have read one
Yeah.
and then were like, "This is my new fandom," and
Uh,
did
yeah.
a deep dive.
One of them gets their weeklies.
They read one Blade comic and were like, "This is my personality now," which we can't hate on. That's what we do.
Yeah.
I saw one episode of Our Flag Means Death, and we're like,
Yes.
"This is who I am for now. Six
Sometimes you
months."
just know. Like sometimes you just know. You feel it
Mhm.
in your soul.
Yep. So they were looking for an amulet in the box, but instead there were papers in the box that would help them track down the amulet. So 50-50.
Hmm.
Mary and John are on a little, what do you call this? Like a little breakfast date
Yeah.
because they're trying to hide the relationship from the rest of the team because Mary doesn't want it to be like a thing. She wants to keep it simple, which I guess she's never seen a movie or read
Yeah.
a book that hiding dating your coworker is the exact opposite of keeping things simple.
Also, like they're just really bad at it.
They're terrible.
They're not good at it.
No. There's a scene later on when they're in the clubhouse and Lotta and Carlos are like just walking away and they make out. I was like,
Yeah.
hold on, you want to give them like 15 seconds to get further out of the room before you do this? I mean, I get it. He's kind of hot, but like, fucking chill. Although, speaking of people thinking other people are hot, they have another, or they're looking at the picture of Dean in the past with the Impala,
Yeah.
and John's like, oh, the Impala's a nice car. Mary's like, oh, Dean's hot. Like, hold on.
Yeah. That was unnecessary.
No, please don't. Please don't do this. We all
I
know. And
mean, Wincest was a thing early on in the supernatural. Maybe they're really just trying to stick to their roots.
I know. So they also called Dean out for looking like a hunter and not a man of letters,
Yeah.
which was a weird call out. Like, okay, yes, he looks
Yeah.
like a hunter because he's wearing out of time. I thought it would have been a more interesting thing for them to say, like, oh, what weird clothing he's wearing.
See, that was a perfect opportunity for that.
Hmm.
Like that would have been great.
Instead of like, oh, he looks like a hunter and not a man of
Yeah.
letters, and instead to be like, what is he wearing? What's that weird? I mean, if he had been holding a phone, right? Like, what is
Yeah.
that weird brick in his hand?
What kind of amulet, what kind of device,
Yeah.
magical thing is that?
Hmm.
Small little metal box.
In his hand, because there's that. What's that one video? It's not even a video. The footage from like the early 1900s. Is it like a Charlie Chaplin movie?
Oh
And there's the old
yeah.
woman who looks very much like she's talking on a
Yes.
cell phone. And there's a
Yeah.
whole conspiracy theory that she is, in fact, either, I don't know, time traveling and talking on a phone, or so that would have been like a nice call out. But
I mean,
instead,
yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
they debate his hotness
Yeah.
and his clothing. On their little date, we finally return to Kyle, the reporter friend, who Mary went on a movie date with a few episodes ago. I was happy to see him return as a antagonistic character.
Yeah, I liked the dynamic between the two. Mid games.
Hmm.
Not even mid games. They were just like blips so far.
Yes, blippies. It made, and we see later in the episode that they will have more to do coming up. It helped. It now makes more sense that he was even there in the first place,
Yeah, it definitely does.
because it was like, well, why introduce this random ass character that she goes on a date with if we're not gonna see him?
Yeah,
Um, so I did like that. But our main story is that Carlos has discovered the case of the vampires who have robbed a armored vehicle, and they have to investigate. I appreciate that Carlos is often the person who gets to speak with the victims,
yeah.
as like the bridge between the team and the victims.
Also, it was nice to see like, just like the conversation not being in English because
Yes.
Supernatural was not good at remembering that a non-white people existed.
Yes. Hmm. I liked that he was speaking Spanish with the
Mhm.
driver. But he does basically tell them that creatures exist and that he needs to keep it quiet.
Yeah, yeah.
So
He was a
it,
little trusting there.
it was a little trusting, and it does feed into a question that I think we've brought up in our Supernatural on the Rocks episodes of like how many people in the world know about creatures and are just not talking about it.
There's got to be a lot with the number of attacks that happen.
Right.
Like, especially, I mean, maybe 70s, you're still gonna be in a position where like people talk, communication happens more quickly, phones exist. Like,
Yeah.
but the more technology goes, cell phone cameras, really, which
Right.
is in the game. Like,
Yeah. I mean, the driver is probably not tweeting
mhm.
about this, but Betty, John's ex-fiance, noticed that the team often shows up at these crimes and these
Yeah,
murders. They're not going to be the only people noticing that this group of 20 somethings are Scooby Dooing their way around town, showing up at
yeah,
very strange crimes.
yeah, really, just not the average crimes.
No. Mm-mm. And is this driver just like never going to tell anyone else that like, honestly, the guy in the truck was dead and then he wasn't?
I mean, that driver's gonna go home and tell like everyone in his immediate family, who
Right.
will then call everyone they know.
Or like, I mean, I doesn't affect me, but like someone going to confession to their priest and being like,
Yeah,
"Listen, weird shit. Just needed to
yeah,
get this off my chest." Or a therapist. I mean, I know there's patient confidentiality, but you think a therapist is never going to be like, "All right, listen to what this patient just told me." Fucking werewolves,
fucking
right?
werewolves. Yeah.
So I do wonder how many what's the spread of information like across the country here? Doesn't seem to matter, but I have questions. So they discover that there is this Men of Letters box that has been kept in a bank vault, instead of one of the many Men of Letters bunkers,
Mhm.
because I guess they want to spread their valuables around. for safety concerns, safety reasons, but I thought that that was why they had multiple bunkers.
Yeah.
So
I
I
feel
don't
the logic is not entirely thought out there.
know. Other than to have a reason for the vampires to get a hold of what was inside of the
Yeah.
box. The box was inscribed with some initials, RJM, seemed to be the owner of the box, and John's ex-fiancé was there poking around. So we have the return of two snooping people, Betty, the ex-fiancé, the cop, and Kyle, the reporter, who will soon to be in cahoots.
Yep.
And
And
we'll
they've
start.
both been kind of like not hardcore wronged, but like both are left in positions where,
Hmm.
they have a slight reason to dislike
Yes.
one of the John and Mary combo.
Do we know why John and Betty are no longer together? It was the
I don't
war,
think so.
but we don't. Yeah, we don't know much
Yeah.
else.
I don't remember an actual explanation.
So maybe we'll find out more about their relationship as it goes on. So Lata, our resident researcher, has been doing an inventory of the clubhouse under the morgue. Does the clubhouse seem to just get bigger every episode?
It does. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, I wondered if I had just missed something where all of
No,
a
they
sudden.
just they keep peeling back layers.
Great, okay. Because I know the bunker in Supernatural
Hmm.
is massive.
I mean, this
Um,
feels like they're just doing the same thing. It's sort of
okay.
like a room of requirement situation.
Which is fine, because now it's just fucking huge.
Yeah.
Um, and later in the episode, there'll be like even more. I was like, wait, there's another layer. But she's been doing an inventory. I guess there's a morgue that's hopefully will be useful at some point. And I guess the men of letters have been using morgue lockers to store artifacts. They have like a list of various men of letters. There's a Ralph Jude Markham, and in his locker is the amulet that the vampires were looking for. And John, because someone had to do this, just grabs the amulet just right in his little bare hand and sees a vision of his own death by vampire.
Yeah. I mean, someone was going to do it.
Someone had to touch it. Death by vampire seems to be a family trait.
Yeah. That's what I kept thinking the entire time. I was like, oh, dude, you don't even know. You are starting a legacy here.
Well, fate and destiny.
Yeah.
Maybe is that what Dean is doing? He's like, if I just keep Dad
Yeah.
away from vampires,
Yeah.
this because Dean gets turned into a vampire at
Hmm.
one point too.
I
He's just
also
like,
have questions about the end of the logic behind the end of this episode, but like we
oh,
can.
do
I'll,
you?
yeah, I'll wait till we get there because I feel like we both have questions.
A few questions. Yeah, I as and it unfolds in a very peculiar filming
Extremely.
style too. I
Yeah.
was like, what? Okay, I mean, like choices, but also, yeah. So this amulet is called the Gem of Ushitari, who is a Romanian god of fate. Because if you hadn't realized, this episode was about fate and destiny
Yes.
and free will, sort of.
They did mention that a couple of times.
It
They
is.
really wanted to make it clear.
If it wasn't clear, this is about fate, destiny, and free will, the pillars that prop up the supernatural
Yes.
cinematic universe. And it gives the person who touches it, I think you have to touch it, don't touch it, the ability to see a future. Lada and Carlos go to talk to like a lore expert who was recommended to them by Anton, who is also a returning character, and I was so delighted to know that.
Mhm.
Anton and Carlos had an unseen date, which was rude. We didn't get to see their
Yeah.
date, and then Carlos, I guess, ghosted Anton a little bit, which was a little shady. But we'll get back to that. But they go to talk to this lore expert to get some history about the Ushitari, and that the amulet really shows you the next fated moment in your destiny. So it's like a future, but kind of not a future.
Yeah. They gave themselves lots of wiggle room there.
There's a lot of wiggle room. So it's not necessarily a death or just the next fated moment. Naturally, vampires show up because the expert has sold them out.
Yeah.
And then she also dies because, like, vampires.
So
Um,
many decapitations in this episode.
there were a lot of decapitations, yeah.
I feel like even a vampire cutting someone's head off can't be that easy.
No, and at one point, was it in this fight or a later fight? I think it was actually maybe the fight at the end. Carlos has like two knives, like little, they're
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 inch knives that he uses to decapitate. And I was like,
I think
hold on, buddy.
unless vampires have shockingly fragile tendons in their
Um,
neck, it's
yeah.
just like
Mhm.
you know, just like two cotton threads holding them together.
It's like the folk tale about the woman with the black ribbon around her neck
Yeah, exactly.
that just falls
That's
off.
vampires. Yeah,
Yeah. You just have to untie the ribbon, the head falls off.
yeah.
Um, I get the machete, like, all right, you can take a
Mhm.
head off with a machete, but the little like steak knives? No.
Yeah.
Come on. Not great. He could have just give Carlos bigger weapons. That's what I'm saying. So the main vampire guy also touches the amulet and has the same vision of John dead, which I think we forgot to say. His vision is that
Hmm.
he is bitten by the main vampire, dies on
Yeah.
like a red carpet. Very glamorous of him to die on a red carpet.
Oh, absolutely.
Naturally, the team tries to bench John while they go after the vampires because that has always worked in media. That when
Yeah.
someone is in danger, you tell them to stay put,
That
and they
never fails
do so.
and makes for a completely satisfying episode.
Yes. Yep. They stay where they're supposed to stay.
Hmm.
They let everyone else do the work for them, and everything goes off without a hitch. Right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just happy. Like the whole last like quarter of the episode is just them having like a nice dinner together.
Hmm. While the rest of the team fights off the vampires and
Yeah.
everyone goes home
Yeah.
happy. Perfect. That is not what happens. Mary, Carlos, and Lotta are trying to track down this vampire house to go after the bad guys. Um, and they find the paperwork from the bank vault heist, and they find like a magic lockpick, which better show up in other episodes.
Yeah, really. That's another one of those extremely helpful things that will be very obvious if it's a one and done.
Yeah, like it's like, oh, it's a magic lockpick that opens doors. Like, if you don't fucking use this thing in other episodes, like, I'm already mad that it doesn't exist in Supernatural when Dean
Hmm.
has been on his knees trying to unpick or pick the locks of doors.
Like John couldn't have left that, or at least like told them it existed, so maybe they
Right?
could keep an eye out for it.
You're letting poor Cass bust open doors for 15 seasons, and you've got a magic lockpick just sitting in the clubhouse. All right. Um, it's just rude. But what they do discover is that there is an entrance into the clubhouse from like a sewer that isn't fully warded the way the rest of the clubhouse is because there would obviously have to be a weak spot.
Yeah, yeah. I
um
mean, what kind of plot device would it be?
no, it's the Harry Potter entrance
Yeah,
into the castle. This is our fully warded castle except for this one very obvious entrance that everyone will always find.
that one little spot in the Death Star.
Hmm. Obviously the vampires show up because you have to have a final fight scene with the bad guys. What what did we think about Carlos's holy water hair commercial?
I It was so camp.
Yeah.
I love it because it was Carlos.
Hmm.
Like Mary couldn't have pulled that off. Lotta even couldn't have pulled that off.
No,
It was cheesy as hell.
it was
But
super cheesy. I think the only thing that got me was I'm pretty sure previously the lore has been that holy water doesn't affect vampires.
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
You had one job, writers.
So like,
Jensen knows every detail of Dean's life, doesn't remember the actual lore.
hmm, yeah. So unless the vampires have mutated since then, whoops. But cool.
I just want to pause here for a second and we can leave this in. I went to check that because I was curious to see if that was like a repeated thing. I put in supernatural holy water. Do you want to know what Google fills in as the final words?
Yes.
Is lube.
No, it's not. It has no viscosity, so no, it's not.
All right, now let me actually finish the search.
And Castiel would tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Oh. But all right, we can continue. I just lube. Yeah, sure. I mean, I
Uh,
would not wish that for Carlos if true.
mm-hmm.
He does his shampoo commercial hair trick.
Which also means that he practiced that. He figured that out.
Maybe Mary just walked in on him like in the bathroom one day. He was just whipping his hair around.
He was like beta testing it.
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna work? What's gonna take out? What's gonna do the most damage to the least effort, most effect? Inside the clubhouse, John and his mother, because
Ooh, yeah.
I feel like she's a bit of a liability in a situation like this without
I
having
would
any
think so.
fight training, but what she does have is electrical engineering
Yeah.
training. So she's been staying with John while he has been benched and somewhat in hiding.
Yeah.
They are kind of running from the vampires, looking for a better place to hide. They go into a vault, which is yet another level down
Yeah. That it's unending.
in this ever sprawling clubhouse.
Next week it's gonna be like, hey, do you want to chill in the sauna? Oh no, it's below the vault level.
And in fact, there's an Olympic-sized pool down here and a gym
Yeah.
and a training session. Well, the bunker has a gym that they showed like
Yeah.
once and then never used again.
Was that just to explain Jared's sudden huge muscles?
Yes, I think so. Yep.
Bookish, nerdy younger brother
Yep.
Sam
Exactly.
suddenly bulked out.
Couldn't just leave it to roid rage. It had to be the gym. So obviously, in this uh, vault is the red carpet.
Of course. Of course.
Yikes.
Very
Um,
yikes.
so in comes Mary, taking out like 4 or 5 vampires on her own. Amazing.
It
Go
that was
girl.
one of the moments where I was like, number one, a lot of decapitations. Number two, this one body slams her,
Hmm.
is holding her, and she still manages to cut its head off.
The physics made no sense.
No, they don't.
No, they're
Good, badass, female empowerment. You knock those heads off, Mary. But also, you couldn't do that
no.
unless
Mhm.
she's on some demon blood shit already.
That would be amazing. This whole
Hey,
time.
yeah,
Well, I mean, Betty is like following her around, and apparently the sheriff's department has a case file on Mary and the Campbells. Maybe they're all just
yeah,
hopped up on demon blood.
maybe so. That would explain so much.
That would be an insane twist.
Wouldn't hate it. It would
And
be
the
an
whole,
interesting one. Yeah,
the whole time she's on demon blood, and that's why Sam and Dean turn
yeah,
out a little fucked. So Mary walks in to the vault and sees the main vampire crouched over John, drinking his blood.
yeah. Oh no! How did that happen? Poor John. He's dead.
Yikes. Yes, he is. But so is the vampire, and that is because he is drinking dead man's
Dead
blood.
man's blood.
Say what?
Plot twist.
Plot twist. In one of the more insane plot twists, or maybe the only one, in the Winchesters thus far, Johnny Boy had his mother electrocute him to death so that the vampire was drinking dead man's blood.
Poor Millie. I
Yeah.
was gonna say
Hmm.
Mary. Yeah, poor Millie.
Yep. Hmm.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it is. It's a little fucked up.
With no
Um,
guarantee that they could actually get him back to life.
no guarantee. Electrical burns, like a full electrocution via untested electrical wires coming out of this like
Yeah.
bunker. You don't know what the wattage or the amperage is. Would
What
she just
did he
yank
just like immediately piss himself?
I mean, he probably did is the thing that they're not saying.
Realistically, he absolutely did.
He probably yeah, that's the unspoken truth of this
Yeah.
episode. Um, I mean, she did kill him, but she probably could have really just killed him.
Yeah, in the no take backs kind of way.
Was there no other way to do this? Like,
I don't know. Well, I also like. I mean, the blood isn't gonna like instantly be dead man's blood.
yeah, what
Like
are the
how?
rules of dead man's blood?
Like if he's still like things
Warm?
haven't shut down yet. Yeah, like
Right.
things haven't shut down. You could revive him. Like he's not dead enough that you can't bring him back to life. So how on earth did the blood like
Yeah,
come?
does the heart is it just that the heart has to not be pumping? Is
It's
that
weird.
is that the rule in, the Vampire Lestat? That when, what's her name? The little girl that they kill,
Claudia.
Claudia, right? Like, she has to stop drinking
Yeah.
immediately when they're draining somebody, that as soon as the heart stops beating, then it's dead and you have to stop? Are
I
these,
don't
like,
know.
Anne Rice vampire rules?
I haven't read that in a long time, but now I'm curious because like it doesn't seem to make sense.
No.
But Sid kills the vampire, so yay.
And then Mary comes in and chops its head off.
Yes. Of
So her
course.
her head count is, like,
Yeah. She's stupid.
12.
Get him roll.
Her shoulders have gotta be so tired after this.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny, not funny, not funny, haha, but another Winchester gets his heart stopped by electricity.
That's true.
Because,
Man, they are hitting all the highlights in the Dean death count.
yep, because
This episode.
this is how Dean gets heart damaged in the Faith episode when he gets healed and gets the reset. So
Yeah.
I don't know, and this is how like some of the lore or stuff about Dean and death and skirting death and fate and all that kind of shit. So like I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. John and Mary do then kiss in front of everybody, thereby spilling the secret that
I
everyone knew.
also I also this is my petty objection episode because I did like the whole episode, but how is he moving his head that much to kiss her when he's got a huge gaping wound in his neck?
Does have a huge bite wound. Like he has been
Yeah.
gnawed on.
Like that vampire thought he got a few good gulps in. That wasn't just like a quick little nibble.
Yeah, no, he's low a pint or two. And he's been electrocuted.
Yeah.
And he's had CPR.
But
He should be
don't make
hurting.
out with it.
He should have like an electrical burn. He probably fell to the ground. He did piss himself.
Yeah. That's not his sexiest moment. Sorry.
He doesn't even look sweaty.
He doesn't. Yeah.
His hair's not all fucked.
He's got a little bit of red smear on his neck, but like, I just
I'm
yeah,
just saying I'm looking for horror realism in a scene like this.
a little bit. I feel like it needs to match like the gravity of what we're told just happened.
Yeah. Actually,
And
yeah, that would have been yes, you're right. He did die.
he did die, and because of the way it told it in flashbacks, you know, I mean, obviously we knew he wasn't really dead, but we didn't know, quote
But he
unquote.
was really dead. They brought him back. Yeah, you're right.
True.
It did need to look as serious as it was.
Yeah.
And I think, this is about fate, and John kind of spent this entire episode talking about like I'm gonna die. Like where
Yeah.
Dean is always like worried about what is free will and feeling like he is being dragged to things against his will. John Winchester in this episode was just like, it wasn't about defying fate, but just like rushing head on towards it.
Mhm.
He was like, well, if I'm supposed to die in this room with the red carpet, I'm gonna fucking die in this room with the red carpet.
Yeah.
It was like the opposite of the Dean Winchester school of thought. And I don't know if that's how he will end up, but it's what he is like right now.
And that is interesting. Just like this continuing thread of like him now versus what he's going to turn into.
Mm-hmm. Something terrible's gonna happen to this man again.
Yeah, it has to. Like it has to.
Yeah. So we have a couple soft endings to this episode. One of them is that Carlos meets back up with Anton. I guess one to get his leg cleaned up by Anton, which I thought was interesting. Like he took
Yeah.
his wounded leg off to get cleaned up, which all right, get it, son. But he does ask him out on a second date
Hmm.
and gets a
That
little
was a very
teased.
sweet scene.
It was a very sweet scene, and I appreciated it. It's nice to see that, a little bit more representation from this show than we're used to. Another soft. It was like the Lord of the Rings of endings with this episode. There's they hide the amulet in like a weird librarian. Have you ever seen The Librarians? The
No.
movie with Noah Wyle. Okay,
I
so
think so. Yeah.
they hide the amulet behind like I don't even know what you want to call it, a storage wall with like sigils and glowing uh, pieces of something. Like, where did this fancy storage wall come from? It's just in the ever expanding clubhouse.
Also, like, they don't question the technology behind of it, or do they like? Does she know and
Oh
they
yeah,
just don't explain it?
yeah. How did she know that you have like how this wall works?
Yeah,
Is
I
there
was
a
like, that doesn't
spell?
seem intuitive.
Mm-mm. Did we miss the scene of like a spell, or do you like
She,
get some blood? And I don't know.
there was a whole tutorial scene on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Yeah, there had to be. And then another ending is
Yes, this is the final ending, right?
yes, the final
Okay,
final
got it.
ending is traitor ex-fiance Betty talking to traitor Kyle the reporter,
Who only got one date?
who only got one date and seems to be a bit incel about it.
Yeah.
And he has files on the entire Scooby-Doo
Yep.
team. And they
Yep.
are starting to talk about their theories of what they are the team are all up to.
Not good.
Not good, because
But
Betty's been feeling a little iffy about Mary,
yes.
and she's got jealousy behind it.
Yeah.
She earlier went to Millie to express some concern about John hanging around Mary, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because Mary had to be like, "Oh," or Millie had to be like, "Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're just doing school stuff." But yeah, so these two are up to no good. Do we think either one of them are connected to the Akrita, or are they just human problems?
Well, we have that final shot when the
Oh yes,
camera. Yeah.
I forgot.
Yep.
So
That final
Kyle,
shot of the back of his neck, which,
yes,
like, his hair is not very long. Does no one stop him and go, "Hey, did you ever looked at it yet?"
you got a little something something here. I
Yeah.
did. I've totally forgot the
Yep.
final shot was the back of his neck and the little Akrita
Yep.
marks. You're right.
Yep. So he's definitely she I don't think is, but it wouldn't surprise me if she's not collateral damage, because like this show has really, it hasn't followed in the supernatural footsteps and not enough women have been killed.
You're
So
right. You're right.
I feel like her longevity is not optimistic about it,
Mm-mm.
which could be an interesting like roadblock in the John and Mary relationship if inadvertently Mary gets Betty killed or something,
Mm.
and John
Mm-hmm.
is just like, "Whoa, shit got real."
Yes. Yes, that is true.
But yeah, I definitely think Betty's in trouble.
Oh yeah. Betty's either in trouble or first she's gonna cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, both maybe.
Yeah.
Cause a lot of trouble and then realize like, oh no, she was
Yeah.
siding with the wrong team there.
Mm-hmm. I find it unlikely that she will be pulled into the team.
Nah, I don't see that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I thought her dying was a more likely end result, because they gotta have like some stakes for a finale,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I would really hope they're not gonna go for one of the main ones. So she's a nice recurring side character that could die. Her or Millie, because again, we don't know how long Millie lived. Like, she doesn't show up in Supernatural, does she?
Yes. No, that is true. We do not
Yeah.
know when Millie gets offed. So we've got two female characters who will
Yeah.
eventually disappear.
Yep.
I mean, I guess Betty could just leave town and never be heard from again.
I would hope for that for her.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't trust it.
You're right. I don't trust anything in this
Yeah.
universe.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't trust these fucks as far as I can throw them.
Nope. Yeah, that is the episode.
Yeah. I mean, again, I liked it. I think these were
Yeah.
two fun episodes in a row here, and it kind of feels like they're finding a bit of a stride.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
excited about next week's. I wanna see where the team up between the bitter exes goes.
are you excited because there's yet another photo of Dean Winchester?
Wait, is there? I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
in well, it was just in the preview for
Oh,
the
okay, yeah, I
next
didn't watch the
episode.
preview yet.
Yeah, there in the preview for episode 10, there's another picture of Dean. Just like, God damn it, man, you cannot let this go. I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. I mean, I have a Tumblr that's still supernatural. So like, I get it. I just haven't self-inserted myself into the show.
Yeah.
So
He is a BNF in his own fandom.
that yes, he is. I have not yet made my employees sing me happy birthday on the birthday of a character.
Yeah.
So
He did do that.
um I just think, to anyone listening to this episode, whoever feels like anyone has ever made fun of them for being too invested in a fandom or a TV show or movies or music or books, like, you're not too invested.
Nope. Nope, you're not.
Yeah. You're not.
Until you've personally backed a TV show concept, you're fine.
Until you've made a production company and put up your money and made an entire TV show just to bring back the dead character that you played for 15 years, I think you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day someone is going to find his AO3 account.
It's going to be bad fic. It's
Yeah.
going to be bad fic with just like Misha and Danielle commenting.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Or he's going to be a lurker who just reads it all.
That could be.
But he has to do it secretly because if he's reading fic, there could be a lot of issues with copyright.
Some legal issues there.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is episode 9. We've got, 4 episodes left in the season?
Yep.
I'm going to have to get that Akrita queen down for the count here at some point.
Yeah. Like, surely things have to move, like, fairly fast.
Yep.
From here on out.
Got to get it rolling, because I doubt that's a big bad that will roll into a second season.
It seems very, like, season arc baddie.
Mm-hmm. And we'll find someone new for the next season. Hopefully, fingers crossed, for new season. I hope so. So thank you for listening to this episode. If you want to support the pod, you can find us on Twitter. I don't know if you want to avoid Twitter, though, because, like, or Instagram, and you can support our endeavors on Patreon at patreon.com/gleeontherocks, where you can find all sorts of bonus episodes. I feel like we should probably stop calling them mini episodes and just go with
They're
bonus.
not very mini, yeah.
Considering how very un-mini they are. And we will be back with the next episode and coming up season 6 of Supernatural on the Rocks.
Coming up.
We'll get there. It'll be a long one, though. There'll be 2 parts, the whole shebang. It'll be fun. And then we'll catch you next week for the next episode. And thanks for listening. You've been listening to Supernatural on the Rocks, a podcast by OTR Productions. A huge thank you to our sound editor, Adriana, and our podcasts, who secretly run the show. For more episodes, download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and more at SPN on the Rocks. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can subscribe to our Patreon account at patreon.com/gleeontherocks. Subscribers get ad-free episodes, exclusive mini-episodes deep diving into the fandom, salty opinions, and more. So until next time, this has been The Road That Was.